Young and the Restless. Holden targets Kyle. Does bad thing to impress Audra? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a nice day before we begin the video. Please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Young and the Restless sees creepy Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, lurking and following Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, around Genoa City, and the guy is looking more unhinged by the day. Is Holden about to do something insane to get Audra's attention? We're going to discuss a couple of rotten things Holden might do as part of a twisted plan to impress Audra and soften her attitude towards him a little bit, including going after Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller. Holden's obsession with Audra on YNR. Holden's current interest in Audra past with Kyle is inappropriate. It's just ick. And Holden turning his eye on Audra's other ex suggests that Holden might target Kyle to try and get into Audra's good graces, especially if Holden finds out about Audra's deal with Victor Newman, Eric Braden, to target Kyle and break up him and Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron. I mean, obviously, quite painfully obviously, Holden is still smitten with Audra. He's borderline obsessed. And she already accused Holden of stalking her. And Audra told him to stop. But Holden insists he wants to protect Audra and be there for her like he was during that mysterious Tucker McCall, Trevor St. John situation in LA that he helped out with. But Audra doesn't want Holden's help this time. She doesn't want him in her life. Audra told Holden they can't even be friends and he should just pack up and go back to LA. But despite Audra rejecting him again, Holden is not going anywhere. I fully expect him to stick around, to keep stalking Audra, and trying to find a way to get close to her as her own personal creeper. Will Holden help Audra break up Kyle and Claire on Young and the Restless? So Holden might even try and help Audra in some twisted way like he said he did with that Tucker circumstance that we still don't know that much about. Probably because the writer hasn't even decided what it is. And if Holden figures out that Audra's on a desperate mission to make Kyle look bad, so he and Claire split, we could definitely see Holden trying to make that happen for her. Because if Audra doesn't do this, then Victor won't pay up and finance the company and she won't get to launch Vibrante, which she desperately wants to do. So, Holden might go behind Audra's back thinking he's going to help her, and he may go to extremes that she might not be willing to do. If you remember, Victor wants Audra to seduce Kyle so that Claire finds out and dumps him for being untrustworthy. But Audra is trying to hang on to Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, who she really likes, so she doesn't want to go the seduction route. Audra versus Holden. Different approaches to success on YNR. But Holden might take things out of Audra's hands. Holden is clearly an unhinged creeper, an adrenaline junkie, she said, and an extreme risk taker, as she told Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope. And that's quite unlike Audra. She does want to take the cosmetics world by storm and blow Kyle and Jabot out of the water. But Audra's being cautious, and she's not willing to cross certain boundaries to take down Kyle and do what Victor wants. But Holden has no such issues. He's not shy. He's out there. He will do bold and bad things. There's honestly no telling what this guy would do. Holden's extreme plan to win Audra on YNR drugging Kyle? So, Audra doesn't want to flat-out seduce Kyle. She just wants to kind of fake something enough to prove to Claire that Kyle is not a good guy and that she'll break up with him. And bottom line, that's what Victor wants. However, she can make it happen. And this week, Audra is telling him that she's on top of it. She's got this plan. It's going to happen. But it doesn't look like it is going to happen other than pulling Kyle closer while he tries to figure out what she's doing. And Holden, of course, would love it if Nate dumped Audra, so he could swoop in. I'm sure Holden assumes if Nate was out of the way that he'd get Audra back. I don't think that's true, but I think Holden thinks it's true. So, there's a couple of kind of low-down grimy things that Holden might do to help Audra destroy Kyle's relationship with Claire, thinking that he is giving Audra what she wants, and in return, Holden will get what he wants. And obviously, Audra won't seduce Kyle, but Holden might actually take that out of Audra's hands. This guy, we could see Holden drugging Audra and Kyle and putting them in bed together in a suite at the GCAC. Young and the Restless. Holden gets evidence. Then, Holden could just snap a few pictures of them in bed, send them to Claire, so she'd see for herself that Kyle was doing naughty things with his ex, Audra. Pull off their clothes, make it look really bad. That'd be easy enough because Holden always seems to run into Kyle and Audra at the GCAC bar where Holden is often seen drinking. So, he could easily slip something into their drinks without Audra or Kyle even knowing. While he's out and at it, Holden could make sure that Nate got a copy of photos if he took some. And let's be real, Holden wouldn't even have to tell Audra he had anything to do with it. He could just play dumb and show up to comfort her when everything fell apart, except for that one thing that she wants, which should still manifest getting the payoff from Victor. So, Kyle and Audra might even blame each other for their drinks getting drugged. They might not even suspect Holden. Or, instead of taking pics, Holden could approach Claire because he knows her. They've had a few drinks together and say in passing, "Oh, I saw your boyfriend Kyle heading upstairs with Audra." Young and the Restless. Claire doesn't want Kyle around Audra. And then Claire would probably go up, poke around. She could find them in bed together. That way Claire couldn't deny that the pictures were real because there's so many good deep fake photo programs these days. But if Claire walked in on Kyle in bed with Audra, even if they were conked out drugged, that wouldn't be good. And that would convince her because Kyle already said he wants to get closer to Audra because he has a plan to trap her. And this week on Young and the Restless, Claire tells Kyle she doesn't like his plan at all. Claire doesn't want Kyle around Audra. And if she caught them in bed together, even if they looked like they were really out of it, she might just think they got drunk together. And she might think Kyle actually did this and got intimate with Audra trying to get the information he's after because he's so intent on finding out what she's up to. Young and the Restless. Holden swoops in? In that case, Holden may try and kill two birds with one stone and make sure that Nate found out as well. That way, Audra would lose her boyfriend even though she would get one thing she really wants, which is Victor to fund her company. But Audra would be a mess. Holden could swoop in, try and take care of Audra, comfort her, all that. I'm sure in Holden's unhinged mind, he's probably developing scenarios, ways that he can win Audra away from Nate could prove promising. And either way, no matter how it comes out, I don't think Audra would want anything to do with Holden ever again. And she would be totally distraught if she lost Nate. But Holden seems bent on worming his way back into Audra's life and going after Kyle could get Audra what she wants. And Holden may think that'll get him what he wants, which is Audra. So, we'll see how it goes, but Holden definitely seems wild and ruthless enough to pull this off. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal an intense and twisted storyline as Holden Hamilton sets his sights on Kyle Abbott, taking shocking actions in a desperate attempt to impress Audra Mullen and prove himself in Genoa City's tangled web of love, rivalry, and ambition. Holden, a young man whose charm masks deeper insecurities, sees Kyle as both a rival and a challenge. Audra has been a focal point of Holden's desire and admiration, and his need to gain her approval pushes him toward reckless decisions that could have lasting consequences for everyone involved. The conflict between Holden and Kyle is set to escalate into a series of manipulations, betrayals, and risky moves that could alter friendships, romantic alliances, and corporate loyalties in the city. Holden's fixation on Audra drives him to target Kyle strategically. He perceives Kyle as someone who stands in the way of the attention and approval he craves and begins plotting actions designed to undermine Kyle's credibility and influence. These moves are subtle at first, whisper campaigns, planting doubts, and small sabotages that appear innocuous but are designed to destabilize Kyle's position both personally and professionally. Holden believes that by proving he can outmaneuver Kyle, he will finally win Audra's admiration and secure a sense of superiority that he feels he has been missing. However, these plans carry the risk of backfiring as Holden underestimates Kyle's resilience and the loyalty of those around him, including his family and close friends. Audra's role in this unfolding drama is central yet complicated. While Holden believes that extreme actions will impress her, Audra's perception of loyalty, honesty, and integrity may be very different from what Holden expects. She has long navigated complex relationships in Genoa City and understands the consequences of manipulative behavior. As Holden intensifies his efforts against Kyle, Audra observes, judges, and begins to question his motives, potentially leading to tension and disillusionment. Holden's misunderstanding of what Audra values could be his undoing, as his actions, though intended to impress, might instead alienate the very person he hopes to attract. Kyle, on the other hand, is initially blindsided by Holden's schemes but begins to detect inconsistencies and subtle attacks on his reputation and relationships. Kyle's instincts, honed from years of navigating Genoa City's high-stakes environment, make him cautious yet strategic in responding. He may attempt to confront Holden directly or subtly turn the tables by exposing Holden's manipulations to those around him, including Audra. The tension between the two young men creates a volatile triangle where emotions, power, and perception clash in ways that affect not only their personal lives but also professional decisions, alliances, and loyalties within the city. This storyline also intersects with broader family and business dynamics. Kyle's family, particularly Jack Abbott, may become involved if Holden's actions threaten corporate interests or personal safety. Similarly, other Genoa City residents may take sides or get caught in the crossfire, escalating the conflict beyond a simple rivalry. The stakes are raised when Holden's desperation to impress Audra leads him toward morally ambiguous or outright dangerous behavior, potentially putting both himself and Kyle at risk of consequences that ripple through the city's interconnected social and business networks. As the episodes unfold, viewers can expect escalating confrontations, moral dilemmas, and shocking twists. Holden's relentless pursuit to outshine Kyle and win Audra's admiration will test the limits of friendship, loyalty, and ambition. Kyle's responses will demonstrate resilience, intelligence, and strategic thinking, while Audra's judgment will influence the ultimate outcome of this intense rivalry. The storyline promises high drama, suspense, and emotional stakes that highlight the unpredictable and often treacherous nature of relationships in Genoa City. By the end of this arc, Genoa City will see shifts in alliances, potential betrayals, and dramatic confrontations as Holden's plan to impress Audra reaches critical points. Kyle's resilience will be tested, Audra's values will be revealed, and the consequences of ambition driven by desire and insecurity will impact multiple layers of the city's social and professional landscape. The storyline promises to deliver the mix of passion, manipulation, and suspense that fans of The Young and The Restless have come to expect. The Young and The Restless spoilers take a darker turn as Holden Hamilton escalates his campaign against Kyle Abbott, taking increasingly risky and morally questionable actions to impress Audra Mullen. Driven by jealousy and insecurity, Holden decides to sabotage Kyle in a way that goes beyond mere words or reputation attacks, targeting him directly in a situation that tests boundaries and draws serious consequences. This bad thing is designed to make Holden appear daring and decisive to Audra, but the ramifications are far-reaching, threatening to destabilize friendships, trust, and professional relationships across Genoa City. Holden's plan centers around a high-stakes situation at the office, where Kyle is working. He manipulates circumstances to place Kyle in a compromising position, perhaps by interfering with a business deal, leaking confidential information, or engineering a public mishap that reflects poorly on Kyle's judgment. Holden believes that by orchestrating such an event, he will demonstrate resourcefulness and cunning in Audra's eyes. However, his lack of foresight and impulsive nature make the plan inherently risky, as Kyle is not easily intimidated and has his own network of allies ready to protect his interests. The tension builds as viewers anticipate whether Holden's scheme will succeed or backfire spectacularly. Audra's role in the fallout is crucial. Initially, she may appear impressed by Holden's audacity, interpreting his actions as bold or ambitious. However, as the consequences of his interference unfold, Audra begins to question the ethics and intentions behind his behavior. She has grown up navigating the complexities of Genoa City and understands that recklessness, even with good intentions, can create collateral damage. Audra's reaction could either validate Holden's efforts or serve as a moral checkpoint, showing him that genuine respect and admiration cannot be won through sabotage or deceit. Kyle, meanwhile, responds with a mix of caution and determination. He quickly identifies the anomalies surrounding the incident and begins investigating the source, suspecting that someone close is manipulating events. Kyle's intelligence, combined with his network of support, including family, friends, and business associates, allows him to counteract some of Holden's actions while gathering evidence to expose the truth. The confrontation between Kyle and Holden escalates tension across Genoa City, creating ripples that impact business deals, personal relationships, and social. Also forces other key players in Genoa City to react. Jack Abbott may become involved if the interference jeopardizes Abbott Enterprises' interests, while Devon Hamilton and Lily Winters could see professional or personal ramifications from Holden's actions. Each character's reaction layers additional stakes and amplifies the drama as alliances are tested and new rivalries form. Holden's impulsive pursuit of Audra's approval has now created a domino effect of challenges, leaving everyone on edge and forcing decisions that could have long-lasting consequences. Ultimately, this storyline explores themes of ambition, jealousy, ethics, and the consequences of impulsive actions in both personal and professional contexts. Holden's determination to impress Audra by undermining Kyle pushes him to cross boundaries that may redefine his relationships and reputation in Genoa City. Kyle's resilience and ability to navigate the fallout test his character and ingenuity, while Audra's judgment serves as a moral compass, highlighting that admiration and love cannot be earned through manipulation or harmful behavior. By the climax of this arc, viewers can expect dramatic confrontations, revelations of hidden motives, and significant consequences for Holden, Kyle, and Audra. The storyline sets the stage for long-term shifts in relationships, alliances, and power dynamics within Genoa City, creating a suspenseful and emotionally charged narrative that keeps fans engaged with every twist and turn. The Young and the Restless spoilers intensify as the immediate fallout from Holden Hamilton's reckless attempt to target Kyle Abbott unfolds, creating chaos in Genoa City and testing the boundaries of trust, loyalty, and morality. Kyle, who has quickly pieced together that Holden orchestrated the mishap, confronts him directly. Kyle's approach is measured but firm. He doesn't just want to call out Holden. He wants to expose the consequences of the action and make it clear that manipulative behavior will not be tolerated. The confrontation escalates quickly as Kyle lays bare the risks Holden's actions have posed to both professional deals and personal relationships, highlighting the recklessness behind his scheme. Audra Mullen becomes a pivotal figure during this fallout. Witnessing the conflict between Kyle and Holden, she is forced to reevaluate her perception of both men. Initially intrigued by Holden's audacity, she now sees the real impact of his desperation to impress her, how it endangered someone else, including Kyle, and potentially undermined trust and stability in their shared circles. Audra's disappointment is palpable. She makes it clear that boldness is admirable, but recklessness and manipulation are unacceptable. Her reaction not only affects Holden emotionally, but also serves as a moral anchor for viewers, showing that actions intended to gain approval or affection can backfire if they violate ethical lines. Holden reacts defensively at first, trying to justify his motives as proof of ambition and determination. He insists that his intentions were to impress Audra and demonstrate initiative, but Kyle and Audra remain unmoved. The conversation exposes Holden's insecurities and lack of foresight, forcing him to face the reality that admiration cannot be earned through schemes or sabotage. This confrontation also forces Holden to confront the ripple effects of his actions, including damage to his reputation, strained relationships, and potential professional consequences if his manipulations are revealed to higher-ups or family members. The fallout extends beyond the immediate triangle. Kyle may share details with his father, Jack Abbott, who could intervene to protect his son and hold Holden accountable. This could create additional tension, particularly if Holden is seen as overstepping boundaries in business or social spheres. Other Genoa City residents, especially those who work closely with Kyle, might also react to the disruption, questioning Holden's reliability, judgment, and character. This broader ripple effect ensures that Holden's impulsive behavior has citywide implications, reinforcing the stakes and the consequences of his attempt to impress Audra. As Holden faces criticism and the repercussions of his actions, viewers can expect him to undergo a pivotal moment of self-reflection. The combination of Kyle's direct confrontation and Audra's moral disapproval forces him to reconsider his methods and motives. The storyline emphasizes themes of accountability, the dangers of jealousy-driven decisions, and the need for ethical conduct in personal and professional endeavors. For Kyle, this incident reinforces his resilience, intelligence, and ability to defend his position while maintaining moral clarity, and for Audra, It underscores the importance of discernment when evaluating motives in high-stakes social dynamics. By the conclusion of this arc, Holden is left to grapple with the consequences of his reckless behavior. Kyle emerges stronger and vindicated, and Audra's stance provides a moral anchor that redefines the dynamics between all three characters. The fallout sets the stage for long-term developments in personal relationships, professional alliances, and the ongoing tension in Genoa City, keeping viewers on edge with every twist and decision. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint at a critical turning point for Holden Hamilton as he faces the aftermath of his reckless actions against Kyle Abbott. Now confronted with Kyle's anger and Audra Mullen's disapproval, Holden is at a crossroads. Will he attempt a genuine redemption arc to repair relationships, or will he double down on his schemes in a misguided effort to impress Audra and assert control over his situation? The coming episodes explore this tension, highlighting Holden's inner conflict, ambition, and vulnerability, while emphasizing the high stakes of his choices in Genoa City. In the redemption path, Holden begins to acknowledge the consequences of his actions. He may approach Kyle sincerely, offering apologies and taking responsibility for the chaos he caused. This attempt at reconciliation is not easy. Kyle's trust must be earned, and Holden must demonstrate both humility and accountability. Audra observes closely, evaluating whether Holden's apologies are heartfelt or another performance designed to manipulate perception. If successful, this arc could strengthen Holden's maturity, showing growth and emotional intelligence, and potentially positioning him as a more credible contender in Genoa City's complex social and business networks. Alternatively, Holden may choose to double down on his scheming, believing that bold moves, even reckless ones, are the way to earn Audra's admiration. He could escalate his targeting of Kyle, using deception, manipulation, or even interference in professional deals to assert dominance. This approach amplifies tension and drama, as every step risks exposure, alienation, and retaliation from Kyle, Jack Abbott, and other Genoa City players. Audra's response to such actions could dramatically shift her relationship with Holden, teaching him that true admiration cannot be forced through unethical behavior, no matter how daring or calculated. Kyle's reaction to either scenario is pivotal. If Holden shows genuine remorse, Kyle may slowly lower his defenses, but only while keeping a watchful eye on Holden's motives. Kyle will likely strategize countermeasures, leveraging his experience and network to protect himself and potentially turn the tables on Holden. This dynamic intensifies the drama and keeps viewers guessing how the rivalry will unfold. Audra's role continues to be central. Her judgment and reactions shape Holden's path, whether guiding him toward redemption or revealing the consequences of his poor choices. She may choose to distance herself from Holden temporarily, forcing him to reflect on his actions, or confront him directly to ensure he understands the moral implications of his behavior. Audra's decisions not only affect her relationship with Holden but also influence how Kyle perceives both men, further complicating the triangle and setting the stage for emotionally charged confrontations. The fallout of Holden's choices also affects Genoa City's broader landscape. Jack Abbott may intervene if corporate or familial interests are threatened, while other residents may take sides, heightening tension and creating ripple effects across social and business circles. Holden's next moves are critical. They determine not only his future with Audra and Kyle but also his reputation and alliances within the city. By the conclusion of this arc, Holden's path, whether toward redemption or deeper scheming, will redefine his relationships, test loyalty, and deliver high-stakes drama that keeps viewers on the edge of their seats. Kyle's resilience, Audra's discernment, and Holden's decisions intertwine to create a suspenseful and emotionally charged narrative that embodies the tension, intrigue, and moral complexity fans expect from The Young and the Restless. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal the first signs of Holden Hamilton's next move, setting the stage for a tense and pivotal storyline. After the explosive fallout from his attempt to sabotage Kyle Abbott, Holden faces mounting pressure from both Kyle's retaliation and Audra Mullen's critical judgment. The viewers are now left questioning whether Holden will pursue a path of redemption, acknowledging his mistakes and making amends, or whether he will escalate his schemes in a desperate attempt to assert himself and win Audra's approval. Holden initially seems introspective, reflecting on Kyle's confrontation and Audra's disappointment. He recognizes that his previous actions not only endangered his relationship with Audra, but also exposed him to public scrutiny and potential professional consequences. Early signs of remorse appear as he hesitates before taking further action against Kyle, showing moments of vulnerability and self-awareness. He reaches out to Audra with cautious attempts at dialogue, signaling that he may be willing to confront his own flaws and seek reconciliation. Audra, however, remains guarded, testing the sincerity of his apologies and observing whether his behavior aligns with his words. Meanwhile, Kyle remains vigilant. He monitors Holden closely, aware that any misstep could have serious repercussions. Kyle's response is a mix of caution and assertiveness. He is willing to engage with Holden diplomatically, but is prepared to defend his interests if Holden attempts further sabotage. Kyle also begins to document and anticipate Holden's actions, ensuring that he has leverage and support from his family, including Jack Abbott, to counter any aggressive moves. This strategic positioning highlights Kyle's intelligence and reinforces his role as a resilient and proactive character in Genoa City. The tension escalates when Holden faces opportunities to either mend bridges or double down. Minor incidents, such as subtle interference in Kyle's work or attempting to gain Audra's attention through calculated risks, serve as tests of his character. Every decision Holden makes is scrutinized by both Kyle and Audra, making each move critical. If he chooses redemption, he may take visible steps to protect Kyle's interests, acknowledge mistakes publicly, or demonstrate genuine loyalty and honesty toward Audra. Conversely, if he chooses escalation, he risks further alienation, exposure of his schemes, and the potential collapse of relationships he has worked so hard to influence. Audra's role is pivotal in shaping Holden's trajectory. Her reactions to his early attempts at reconciliation, or to any manipulative behavior, serve as a moral compass and a barometer of his progress. She observes how Holden handles pressure, accountability, and empathy, and her decisions will determine whether he gains her trust or faces increasing isolation. This dynamic emphasizes the complexity of relationships in Genoa City, where intentions, actions, and perception all carry significant weight. The unfolding storyline also reverberates through Genoa City's broader social and professional landscape. Family alliances, corporate dealings, and friendships all come under strain as Holden's choices create tension and uncertainty. Jack Abbott may intervene to protect Kyle and ensure corporate stability, while other characters watch closely to gauge Holden's intentions and reliability. The combination of personal, romantic, and professional stakes ensures that Holden's next steps are crucial not just for himself, but for the balance of power and trust among key players in the city. By the end of this segment, viewers can expect heightened suspense, emotionally charged confrontations, and the first definitive signs of whether Holden will embrace redemption or continue his risky, manipulative path. Kyle's vigilance, Audra's judgment, and Holden's choices converge to create a suspenseful narrative full of intrigue, moral dilemmas, and high-stakes drama. The Young and the Restless spoilers show that Holden Hamilton's first major decision following his reflection sets the stage for dramatic consequences, testing his relationships with both Kyle Abbott and Audra Mullen. Holden, after weighing his previous reckless actions and the fallout, decides to make a bold move that will signal his intentions clearly. The outcome of this action determines whether he begins a genuine redemption arc or digs himself deeper into trouble, keeping Genoa City viewers on edge. In a tentative step toward redemption, Holden reaches out to Kyle directly in a private setting, aiming to apologize sincerely for his previous sabotage attempts. He acknowledges the harm he caused, both professionally and personally, and expresses a desire to make amends. Holden's vulnerability in this moment is a stark contrast to his earlier impulsive behavior, revealing a side of him that is capable of self-reflection and growth. Kyle listens cautiously, aware that words alone are insufficient. He needs to see consistent actions before trust can be restored. This confrontation emphasizes the high stakes and emotional tension as both men navigate the complexities of forgiveness, accountability, and rivalry. Audra observes these interactions closely. While initially skeptical, she sees glimpses of genuine remorse in Holden's demeanor, prompting her to reconsider her stance. Audra becomes a guiding force, reminding Holden that integrity, empathy, and respect are more impactful than risky schemes or attempts to impress. Her presence adds a moral dimension to the storyline, highlighting that admiration and trust must be earned through consistent ethical behavior rather than bold gestures or manipulative tactics. Audra's judgments and responses influence both Kyle and Holden, creating a dynamic triangle where loyalty, morality, and emotional intelligence intersect. Holden's initial attempt at redemption, tension remains high. Even minor missteps or lapses in judgment risk undoing any progress he has made. Kyle, maintaining a cautious approach, monitors Holden's behavior and tests his sincerity through practical challenges, ensuring that any reconciliation is based on actions rather than words. This careful scrutiny reinforces the storyline's theme of accountability, emphasizing that redemption in Genoa City is earned through consistent and demonstrable change, not temporary gestures. The consequences of Holden's decision ripple beyond the immediate triangle. Family members, including Jack Abbott, remain wary of his presence and motives, while other Genoa City residents observe the developments with interest and concern. Corporate and social ramifications also come into play if Holden's actions inadvertently affect business deals, alliances, or reputations. The intertwining of personal and professional stakes amplifies the drama, showing how one individual's choices can create cascading effects throughout the city. By the conclusion of the segment, Holden's decision to either pursue a genuine path of redemption or slip back into manipulative behavior begins to define his trajectory in Genoa City. Kyle's cautious acceptance, Audra's moral oversight, and the broader social and professional consequences create a suspenseful and emotionally charged narrative. Fans can expect continued tension, dramatic confrontations, and significant character growth or fallout depending on Holden's next moves, keeping the storyline intense and unpredictable. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Holden Hamilton faces his first real test of sincerity, a moment that will determine whether his path leans toward redemption or further scheming. After attempting to apologize to Kyle Abbott and signal his desire to make amends, Holden is confronted with a scenario that requires him to act with integrity, courage, and consideration, rather than impulsive ambition, to prove he has changed. This pivotal moment becomes a turning point not only for Holden but also for his relationships with both Kyle and Audra Mullen. The test arises unexpectedly when a high-stakes situation emerges involving Kyle's professional or personal interests. Perhaps a critical business decision, a social engagement, or an urgent crisis places Kyle at risk, and Holden is presented with the opportunity to either intervene ethically or exploit the situation to his advantage. Choosing the former demonstrates accountability and genuine growth, signaling to Kyle that Holden is capable of prioritizing others over his own selfish desire for approval. Conversely, a misstep or opportunistic choice would expose Holden's lingering insecurities and reinforce doubts about his ability to earn trust. Kyle's scrutiny during this test is intense. He watches Holden's every move, measuring not only the outcome but also the intent behind it. Kyle's responses are equally instructive. He may initially withhold trust or praise, requiring Holden to demonstrate repeated reliability. This dynamic underscores the theme that redemption in Genoa City is a gradual process, earned through consistent actions rather than single gestures. Kyle's guarded approach heightens tension and suspense, as viewers anticipate whether Holden can rise to the challenge without succumbing to old habits. Audra's perspective adds another layer of complexity. She observes Holden closely, evaluating whether his actions align with the remorse and accountability he expressed during his earlier confrontation with Kyle. Audra's judgment serves as a moral barometer. She recognizes that bold gestures are meaningless without ethical consistency and emotional intelligence. If Holden proves himself in this test, Audra's trust, and possibly her admiration, may grow, signaling a shift in the relational triangle that affects both personal and social dynamics in Genoa City. The ripple effects of Holden's choice extend beyond Kyle and Audra. Family members, colleagues, and other Genoa City residents are indirectly impacted, especially if the situation involves corporate or social stakes. Jack Abbott, for example, may monitor the scenario closely, using Holden's actions to gauge his reliability and integrity, while other peers could reassess their opinions of him based on how he handles this challenge. This interconnected web of relationships emphasizes that individual decisions in Genoa City rarely exist in isolation, reinforcing the high stakes and tension of the storyline. By the end of this segment, Holden's response to the test will send clear signals about the trajectory of his character. A successful act of integrity may mark the beginning of genuine redemption, altering his relationship with Kyle and potentially earning Audra's respect. A failure, however, risks reigniting conflict, deepening rivalries, and exposing Holden to both personal and professional consequences. This storyline maintains suspense, explores moral complexity, and ensures that every decision has significant repercussions, keeping viewers engaged and emotionally invested in the unfolding drama.